Good day, Ma'am Perlita. Good day, classmates. So today I will discuss the executive control processes, the continuation of the chapter 10. The, at the end of this discussion, we will know the executive control processes, the forgetting, the methods of increasing of retrieval information, and other memory methods. So first, let us know what is executive control processes. So it involves the executive process or what is referred to as metacognitive skills. It guides the flow of information through a system. It helps the learners make informed decisions about how to organize, categorize, or interpret information. Example of processes are attention, rehearsals, and organization. So when we say executive control and processes, it is mental processes needed when we have to concentrate or pay attention. It helps to control our behavior. An executive control processes, it is the one that guide us on how to decide or choose on what or unsa ang tagaan og atensyon or ang i-ignore. So, uh, so So we use executive process and control to manage our everyday life. For example, eto ko sa grocery store and then nakita na ko ang ako mga favorite nga junk foods or chocolate. And so of course maibog ko and then na other side sa ako ang kagalingon nga gusto maingon nga magpalit padnapod sa other side nga ingon dili magpalit kay gamay na lang ang allowance. So in that situation, the executive control processes will help me to decide. And others say ang mga tao daw na na ay problema sa executive control processes is they have a tendency na maglisod og memorize or mag-manage og time pagkabuhat sila og task or project. So now let's go on the forgetting. So what does forgetting mean? It is the loss or change of information that was previously stored in short-term or long-term memory. It can occur suddenly or it can occur gradually as old memories are lost. While it is usually normal, excessive or unusual forgetting might be a sign of a more serious problem. So, forgetting is muna siya ang atong pagkalimot. Yes. So, do you still remember kung unsa imong gisuot atong Webes? Kung nagunsa mo atong Merkulis or unsa ang pamahaw paniud to panihapon atong Webes. So, 'di ba? Ang uban nato nga mga memories bisag bag-o pa nato gibuhat is malimtan na nato. Because there are things we easily forget, and some other way is na di na ma-recover, and it is because our memory is not perfect. Kabantay mo ana sometimes gani ka nang nakay ka istorya and then nakay gusto iingon pero wala na din ka na interrupt na other person. And then pagkataod is makalimot na ka kung unsa to imong tuyo or sa to imong iingon. So because our memory is not permanent, they can disappear over time, and that's what we call forgetting. So there are two ways in which forgetting likely occurs. So let us discuss first the decay. Decay is information is not attended to and eventually fades away, very prevalent in working memory. So decay is a theory that our memory fades automatically as a function of time. In this theory, kung dili daw nato ginagamit o napapractice ang ating memory, there's a possibility na our memory decays, and as a result, malisod ta mag-recall o mag-memorize sa mga impormasyon. So example is, malimtan nato ang usa ka ngalan sa usa ka tawo bisag permi nato sila nga kauban, just like in our classmates. So even though nga permit ta magauban or magkita, there are times jud na makalimot ta sa ilang pangalan bisag ilang nawon ato nalimtan pero ang ilang pangalan is makalimtan nato. So A memory is most easily recalled if it is brand new and without rehearsal, we began to forget. Kasi ang atong memory is di na to siya gina-rehearse or gina-practice aron di na to malimtan ang old information. So, okay, let's proceed to interference. New or old information blocks access to the information in question. So, interference, permanently man ato ni mahitap sa tuon mo, mas dali na to ma-recall ang new or recent event than those farther in the past. So, example is during the examination. So, mas madali na to ma-recall ang information nga atong natun-an before the exam, before the day in the exam kaysa sa atong pinaka-primary nga topic. So in that case, newer information competes with the older learning. So another example is kanang magpalit kag bagong SIM. So if ever may mga og number, so kay wala pa man ka na memorize ang imong SIM, so ang imong there's a possibility nga ang imong mahatag nga number is katong memorize na. So there are two types of interference. We have retroactive and proactive interference. So when we say retroactive or interference, for example, is naglearn you start learning a language which is Spanish man na imong una gitun-an, and then sa second nagtuon na pud ka og French. So retroactive interference is you forgot some Spanish because you are learning French. So while the proactive interference is just like ato, so ang first is Spanish nga language imong gitun-an, and then second is nag-French na pud ka. So the proactive says that you have difficulty learning French because of your memory for Spanish. So that is the interference. So now let's go on the methods of increasing retrieval information. So there are 8 methods of increasing retrieval of information. So first we have rehearsal. It is repeating information verbatim, either mentally or aloud. So rehearsal strategy, it is repeating information to learn or balik-balikon og basa hangtod sa ma-memorize ang info. Example is pag-review ta. Ang mga terms is mo siya na ang atong ginabalik-balik og yaw-yaw, no? Either nga kusog nga tuog yaw-yaw or sa ang atong hunahuna lang ang gayayaw. So it depends to a learners kung unsa ang mas ano sa iya mas effective. So that's the rehearsal. So the second is the meaningful learning. It is making connections between information and prior knowledge. So kani is I think is mas magamit nato ang stock knowledge aron mas masabtan ang atong new nga topic or discuss or the new information. Next is we have the organization. It is making connection about among various pieces of information. Info that is organized efficiently should be recalled. So according to some researcher, kung na-organize daw ang ideas, concept, and terms, mas dali na ma-recall ang information. And that's right, no, kay especially pag tingisam na is gabuat tag studyhanan in which nga in that notebook is or is nakadetailed ang pinaka-primero nga topic which is katong mga importante lang, and then mga importante nga lang os nga detailed, organized og arranged kayo. So in that case we can easily memorize or recall the information. So next is we have the elaboration. This is adding additional ideas to new information based on what one already knows. So diba nga ang atong memories is a combination of old and new information. So there is a elaborative encoding. Ma-recall nato ang info depends on the connection of old memories or info or knowledge. So next is visual imagery. So we are so familiar about these methods because some learners learn more if the information is showing a picture. So next is generation. Things we produce are easier to remember than things we hear. So it is very true kay mas madali man nato mahinumduman ang katong mga butang or mga nga kita mismo ang gabuhat or ga-produce kaysa sa nadunggan lang. Okay, next is we have context. So context is remembering the situation helps recover information. So for example, kanang mag-review ka and then magpatugtog ka sa imong favorite music. So during the exam, so kung makinundam daw ka sa lyrics sa kanta, there's a possibility nga mahinumduman sad nimo ang information nga imong gibasa while gatugtog to nimo nga music. So another example is pag mag-review daw ka is mag-count or usab daw kag bagol gam and then during sa exam pod is inato check imong baton. So there's daw a possibility nga ma-recall or ma-remember nimo ang mga information. So not all man but naay daw gamay. So next is the personalization, making info relevant to individuals. Ingon ani, in order daw to learn the student, we need to determine or teacher need to determine the interests of student, abilities and talents. So I know to determine or kung asa sila nag-excel. So as a teacher, daw let your student know their abilities and talents. So as a future educator, we should know first the relevant info for the learners. So next let's go on to the other memory methods. So first we have serial possession effect, recency, primacy. You will remember the beginning and end of the list most recently. So it happens when a person recalls the first and the last item in the list and in the middle. So for example is may part sa enumeration nga enumerate the method of retrieving information. So kung isulat na nato mas mauna jud og nato mainumduman katong first and the last. When we say primacy effect, ang focus ng information is nasa top while the recent effect is in the middle. So now we have also part learning. It break up the list or chunk information to increase memorization. So most of us is siguro is ginabuhat ang chunking or breaking up information para mas madali ang pag-memorize nato sa usa ka information. So example is galisod ka sa definition of terms and bato nimo is i-paraphrase nimo based sa imong nasabtan and pwede nimo i-divide ang text into sections para mas dali jud og mas mahinumduman jud nimo. So next we have distributed practice, break up learning session rather than cramming all the information in at once. So in this method, nadiri ang time management in which in every subject or lesson is gahinan nimog time na daan or naanay time allowances. Kailangan na kay schedule of study or to avoid cramming or mass practice. So, and according to the study, distributed practice promote meaningful learning and meaningful benefit. So next, we have also mnemonic aids. These are memory techniques that learners may employ to help them retain and retrieve information more effectively. So maybe all of us is familiar na aning a method in which sometimes we are using mnemonic devices to recall information. So for example is gabuhat ka og kanang mga acronym sa mga terms para dali lang nimo sila mahinumduman. So just like sa the 8 planets. So para dili na nato malimtan ang order, so nga to lang Martin is the my very elegant mother just sent us net. So by that no, makabaron ta sa order, makamemorize na din ta sa 8 planets nga wala naglibog sa order. So now let us try to understand the model of executive control processes. So just think of so for example is karon nga adlaw is ga discuss ta about the forgetting. So or the executive control process. So in that nag discuss the our senses will be atong mga information will be restored in a sensory memory, and then ato din siya sa short-term memory, and in which pag maka-learn na po ta og new nga topic, or this topic is ang katong this the executive control process, or katong una nato nga gi discuss is malimtan nato because of the maintenance of retrieval. Uy. So now let us try to understand the executive control processes. So now go on to the model of executive control processes. So as we can see in this model, we can see the senses in which it will are stored in the sensory memory, and then the perception to short-term memory and to long-term memory. And then in the long term, or in the is diha na to diha na ang mga rehearsal katong mga methods of retrieving information, in which diha sa long term is ma-retrieval, but in the short term memory is malimtan na to siya, or diha ang ang forgetting. And so to understand more the model of executive control processes, please click the link below. Thank you. That's all for today's discussion. I hope that you learn, and I hope that di na to malimtan.